Hey, what's up runner? Coach Kyle here, and I think few things in running are more satisfying than winter trail running. There's something sometimes so surreal about it. Everything looks different than how you typically imagine it in your head since the world is covered in snow. There's often less traffic, foot, bike, car, and even runner traffic. So whether you're out on the town bike path or hitting up the trail, it could just be you and the deer in the morning. I think winter trail running can be extra special, an extra treat. You know, you just left a beautiful autumn to enter into a winter wonderland, and it can be something truly special. I even like it when you know that you're the first person to run on that snow on that trail. You know, I'm grateful that as a runner, I don't just stay indoors and hunker down throughout the cold season, but I continue to get out there and enjoy the fresh air. Now that being said, being a winter runner does take a little extra considerations, and today I'm going to tell you what those are. I think that for the purposes of this video, I'll break it up into two sections. I'll do a physical considerations section, such as gear, at the end, but I'm going to start with the mental aspect, because if you don't get out the freaking door, all that gear is not going to do you any good. I have no doubt you've heard the quote from Bill Bowerman of Nike fame when he said that there's no such thing as bad weather, only soft people. And now that might come off a little harsh, but there's definitely some truth to it as well. When it comes to doing anything that improves your life, definitely running, definitely winter running, sometimes you're really not gonna feel like doing it. And I've said this in a few of my past videos, but if there's one major thing I've learned over the last few years as I've overcome my dietary or my depressive struggles, is that these things in your life that make your life better, they don't just happen magically. You need to put out some effort to get those good things in and going, and that's so true when it comes to winter running. I tell my runners that motivation is simply having empathy with your future self. And when you're prepping for a run that you don't really feel like doing, consider not how you feel in that very moment, but how you'll feel 10 minutes into your run, after that run, or at the starting line of your next event. You're gonna be glad you did all that winter running. And you know that those spring, those summer marathons, those successful events, those are made in the winter from that consistency, that frequency that you do before the training plan even begins. And not only when you get to that end result of the race, but I think that consistency helps your winter happiness. Sometimes some of us get kind of sad in the winter, but I believe 100% that being a winter runner outside, getting me outside in the sun in the winter, helps my happiness year round. So I'm gonna say that again. Motivation is simply having empathy with your future self. And you can skip the runs, sit in the house, not get outside in the winter, and potentially be less physically active, or you can feel like a badass getting those runs in outside in the winter when everybody else is succumbing to their cold excuses. And you know that it's always colder outside the house, inside your head, when you're inside the house than it actually is outdoors. The weather's always worse here than it is outside. And it's easy to not feel like doing something that takes effort, but will even make you better. You just gotta start, you just gotta get going. And once you get going, once you start, you'll almost always be glad you did. One of my favorite stories from a runner that I coach was that they got all dressed for their run, but they still didn't feel like going. They went and they stood on their front step of the house, and they stood there thinking of an excuse to give to Coach Kyle for skipping the run. They couldn't think of any valid excuse, so they went and did the run, and they were totally glad they did. If you think you could use some extra motivation or an accountability boost for your running, your strength work, or your nutrition this upcoming winter season, visit my website, give me a holler. We'll chat about what we can do together to keep you or get you running consistently and frequently and feeling good throughout the winter months towards that spring and summer event. Okay, so now let's talk about gear. Alfred Wainwright said that there's no such thing as bad weather, only unsuitable clothing. And one of the biggest ways I've realized to improve my winter running motivation is with a bomb-ass warm winter jacket. Knowing that my jacket, the tights, the gloves, everything that I have will keep me totally warm and comfortable no matter if it's -20 outside. And yes, I've done -20. Knowing I'll be totally comfortable out there helps me get out the door. People from warmer climates, they'll ask me, oh my gosh, how do you run outside all winter long in South Dakota? And I tell them, I just wear more gear and I'm not cold. Like, I'm totally comfortable out there while running. The people who are in the back of their apartment building smoking, they're cold. So let's go over head to toe what some of those good options may be. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is when I say good or warm, I don't necessarily mean expensive. A lot of what I have has been bought secondhand for 25 cents to $25 for the most expensive used gear that I have. And I know for a fact it would have cost over $100 for that jacket. But it keeps me warm, it keeps me comfortable. And I'm a big believer that, reduce and reuse comes before recycle. And anything that I can do to, reuse something and save a bunch of money, I'm gonna do it. I'm typically kind of pretty stingy with my cash, with my money, except for when it comes to how much maple syrup I put on my pancakes. But when it comes to like my winter gear, I love saving some cash and reusing something that's totally acceptable. Now, if you're not into that, fine, it's fine, whatever, but give me a used winter jacket. Now, there are some pretty nifty winter specific running shoes out there. A friend of mine even has a pair with built-in metal spikes underneath it. Now, I don't go quite that far. I simply just wear my trail running shoes in the winter because they're pretty sturdy built. They're a little thicker up here than most road shoes, but the traction on trail shoes is generally pretty good. And it's going to be, these are the Nike Wild Horse 5. This is my second pair. This is an Ultra Lone Peak, and they're both excellent winter shoes. Now, Ultra does have a Lone Peak all-weather with a weather-resistant booty construction, and Nike has the Nike Pegasus Shield with a water-repellent upper and a modified sole for better traction in like wet conditions. These winter-specific shoes are generally more expensive than their fair weather counterparts, but if you don't want to buy a pair of shoes just for the season, just for the winter, there are accessories you can spend much less money on. A pair of gaiters to go around the top of your heel collar to keep snow from going into your shoe is a $25 purchase that you'll use for trail running, for gravel running, for winter running, and you'll be glad you purchased them. You could also get something to go over your toe box. There's something called shields that I've used, and it just covers the top of your shoe to keep that super cold air or snow from going into the top mesh here. You could also maybe just try a pair of duct tape over the top. I'm gonna try that this winter. I've never done that, but that's an option as well. And you can get yak tracks or just screws to put into the sole of your shoe to improve the traction there. So there are some great accessories you can get to your shoes that cost $5 to $25, and they'll kind of upgrade your just typical pair that you already know is comfortable and does a pretty good job. Now, socks are actually the one thing I don't change when it comes to the changing of the season. Kind of. I still wear the typical Mayinjinji like normal thickness, but I go with the taller ankle high ones. Typically during the summer, I have like 20 pairs. Just every time I get a running related gift card to the running store in town or whatever, to Shields, I buy Injinji socks and I buy the no-show ones. But I have like 5 pairs of the ankle tall ones because 2 reasons. So let me know if you've ever experienced this, but if I wear the no-show Injinjis and it's like below 40, the sock falls down under my heel. If it's 42 degrees, it won't do it. But if it's 38, the sock falls down every time, no matter what shoe I wear. But if I wear the taller ones, totally fine. And so I also wear the taller ones because it bridges that gap between the top of my shoe and the bottom of my tights, just to protect that inch or 2 of skin when it's 5 degrees outside. So now when we go to my legs, 40 degrees is a pretty good threshold for me between shorts and tights. If it's above 40 and not super windy, I'm probably gonna be in a pair of shorts. If it's below 40, I'm probably gonna be in a pair of tights. Now I just got these John G half tights this summer and I've really been loving them. This, along with my pair of Nike Capris that I got for like $4 at Plato's Closet, have been perfect for those cooler mornings when I'm not ready for like full winter like fleece lined tights, but the short shorts aren't quite cutting it. The half tights, the 3/4 lengths capris are perfect. When it comes to tights, one of the most common questions, especially from newer runners, is should you wear underwear under them? And yeah, if there's not a built-in liner, like the John G tights have a built-in liner, most of the time, actually none of my full winter tights have a liner, like a for your junk, for your gear down there. I just wear these normal nothing special underwear that I got from Target. They work fine, and I just wear those. And sometimes I wear 2 pairs if it's really cold and really windy outside, but nothing special. But yeah, wear something under there to keep your junk warm and kind of in place. Now, as we move up the body, I want to talk about keeping your phone warm. Now, depending on the phone and the battery in the phone, you might have experienced that if the phone gets really cold, it shuts off, but then you plug it in and it's at like 70% battery. And you're like, what the heck? Well, some phones, if it gets really cold, it doesn't think it has any juice in the battery, so it shuts off because it thinks it's dead. But you can prevent that by using something like a flip belt to keep your phone under your shirt, under your jacket, closer to your body, and that will prevent the phone from getting really cold. When it comes to keeping my core warm, I can honestly say that it's a little bit of a challenge between finding that balance from, staying warm, but not suffocating your chest and getting super wet from sweat, which can end up making things worse. So I have 2 really warm winter jackets. One is a pullover and one is like a skiing jacket. I think I've never skied before, so I don't know, but I paid $25 for each of these secondhand, and these suckers will seriously keep me 100% comfortable, well below zero. The pullover, lacking any full zipper up front, can be nice. Like, I'll run, and if I turn back and I have a tailwind, I'll unzip it because I'm like totally comfortable. And like, I'm running and it's 10 degrees outside and my coat's unzipped, but I feel good. That's what I'm looking for out of a really warm winter jacket. Okay, so if you have Raynaud syndrome, one thing you can do is try some surgical gloves, under your mittens. These don't breathe very well, but I promise you that this type of glove will keep your fingers, your hand warmer than it otherwise would have been inside just your typical gloves, your mittens, or your mittens with gloves underneath them. Try this out. It'll keep your hands warmer, I promise. Getting a pair of gloves with a mitten flap to go over the top of the fingers is a really nice option. If I were to buy a pair of new winter gloves for that like 40 to 50 degree range, I would get a pair with the mitten flap underneath. It's just nice to have. But my favorite pair are these super sexy mittens that I paid 25 cents for at the thrift store. And they are like, I've never been cold in these mittens, and it's been below zero in these, and they look great and they keep my fingers warm. And for 25 cents, I think that's a win. Now for your neck and head, there's probably not a winter run that goes by that I don't just have a buff just like around my neck. Okay, so best winter gear, I think, is a buff. And we all know how to wear it as a face mask, but you can also wear it as like a bandana around your head to keep your ears warm. You can wear it as a full cap, but you can also wear it as a face mask, and then you can pull it up like this to cover your ears as well. And that does a pretty good job. Put some Vaseline around here and you're gonna be good at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. With hats, make sure you get one that can come down at least around your ears. And if you get the ones that have that ear flap you can tie down here, that's a kind of an extra bonus to keep your head, your ears a little extra warm. So there we have it. If you found this helpful, if you have any other questions or comments, let me know. If you think you could use some extra accountability and motivation during the upcoming cold season, visit my website, hit me up, and let's just chat about how we can come up with some ideas and some things to get you moving forward more consistently, more frequently, so you have the best, most successful winter of running yet.